Hour 2, Big Sills. Always fun catching up with Rick Barry. We appreciate him stepping in with us. Talk a little bit about the NBA playoffs as we get closer to the finals. He has always been my NBA expert. By the way, resetting back to what we were talking about prior to Rick coming on. Come on, man. Where do you really rank DeVonta Smith in the NFL when it comes to his placing as a wide receiver in the NFL? Where do you put him? I said this. I think he's got Marvin Harrison ability. I think he has the opportunity to have that kind of career. Marvin Harrison had a great career. Now, he had one of the greatest signal callers of all time. He doesn't have that. Now, we're gonna ask a question here in a second that maybe could help those numbers. He's not Yale. Yale says that DeVonta Smith is top 10. Well, again, I want to reset this. If you were and this is how who would you draft? Davante Adams or DeVonta Smith? Davante Adams. Who would you draft? Justin Jefferson or DeVonta Smith? Who would you draft? Tyreek Hill or DeVonta Smith? Who would you draft? Jamar Chase or DeVonta Smith? Who would you draft? A.J. Brown or DeVonta Smith? Who would you draft? Stephon Diggs, DeVonta Smith? Who would you draft? Cooper Kupp, A.J. or DeVonta Smith? Who would you draft? Deebo Samuel, DeVonta Smith? Who would you draft? Mike Evans, who's had 1,000 yards every year he's played in the league, or DeVonta Smith? I just named you 10 guys. And I could throw these other 3 at you. Hopkins, Metcalf, and Waddle. Come on, man. The conversation is who's the better wide receiver at 14 and 15? CeeDee Lamb or DeVonta? Hey, by the way, do you really think it's a slam that he's the 14th best wide receiver in the NFL? In a pass-happy league that's got a ton of great players? Waddle isn't much better, if at all. Well, his numbers? Well, according to you there, Tone, his numbers do. This guy's got 2,400 yards in 2 years. Only thing he's done, he had a better catch year this year. But the yardage year, this year, he had 1,300 some yards. And he was the second option. He was also the second option in Miami. And Tua didn't play the entire year. Can you imagine if that guy had Jalen Hurts throwing in the ball? He may have had 2,000 yards. How about a decent quarterback that could stay upright was throwing Jalen Waddle the ball? He might have 125 catches this year. Do you know he was actually playing with backup guys half the season, Jalen Waddle? Those numbers aren't drastically. The quarterbacking is. The quarterback is. He was never there consistently. AJ had 1,300 yards. I'm talking DeVonta. He had like 1,300 yards as the 2 guy. Oh, man. Come on, man. And by the way, every time Jalen Waddle's been on the field healthy, he's never been – DeVonta Smith was never the number 1 option over him, even at Bama. Okay? Even at Bama. Dude, who would you draft? Waddle or Smith? I'm taking Waddle. Who are you drafting? DK Metcalf or DeVonta Smith? Who? Come on. Who you really? So you might draft DeVonta Smith maybe because he's 31 over Hopkins, but Hopkins was on pace to have a better year than. Come on, man. Man, that's some of that Eagle love. Yeah. Dude, he's not a top 10 wide receiver. He's not a top 10. You like blueberry, like strawberry. They aren't that different from one another. They were at Alabama, too. Waddle was the number one guy before he got hurt in the Tennessee game. Come on, man. I believe the dude was even drafted higher. Come on, man. Yeah, that's it. I'll take DeVonta over Debo. Well, tell him to stay out of the thing. Holy shit, you Eagle guys, man. Holy cow. Sills, this guy's top 5. Hey, I don't give a shit about Justin Jefferson. I'll take him over Jefferson. Loyal to the soil, like you say, homeboy. Well, let's do something here and kind of tie it into Philadelphia and tie it into Jalen Hurts. Okay? So I guess at OTAs, either yesterday or today, Lamar Jackson said that you're going to see more offense and you're going to see more pass offense this coming season in Baltimore. Okay. But to your point, Smith is a top 15 for sure, not top 10. Hey, he's top 15. Would I take, I never answered the question. Would I take him over CeeDee Lamb? Excuse me. Would I take him over CeeDee Lamb? Would you take him over CeeDee? And hey, for the record, I love his attitude. That guy doesn't come off like a shit-talking diva wide receiver to me. Okay? It's a confident comment. I mean, look, how do you not fall in love with a guy like DeVonta Smith when he was at Alabama and that entire community, okay, was behind him, loved him, the way they were cheering for him? He's a guy you root for. I love the kid. I really do. So I don't want anybody to get the notion that he's one of my favorite players on that team. And by the way, when I first initially came to JAKIB, I thought they drafted the wrong guy because I didn't know how they were going to implement him in the offense. And Jalen's just gotten better. Okay? Be careful how you answer this one, Sills. You've been saying Smith was better than CeeDee all year. Oh, so Tone's holding my feet to the fire on this one. Oh, hey, be looking for a new post. Be looking for a new post. Okay, be looking for a new post here coming up. Yeah. I think he's better. I think he's better. Because when called upon, he's there. CeeDee Lamb, when called upon, I don't know, man. I don't think that guy's consistent. Like, when you think of the greatest wide receivers in Cowboy history, does he come to your mind? Is he Des Bryant? Like, right? Is he Michael Irvin? I don't know. I don't see those guys. When I see CeeDee Lamb and I see guys who wore 88, do I see Drew Pearson and them guys that wore that 88? I don't think so. I don't see that. Now, when I see DeVonta, I see consistency, route running, a desire to be great, great attitude, works with his team, never complains if he doesn't get. Here's the cool thing about him. That goose egg game, didn't say a word. Can you imagine if one of these guys in this top 10 list here got a goose egg game because their quarterback didn't target him? And can you imagine one of these guys, what they would do? Shit, you got right now Davante Adams crying about the Raiders in May. Right? All right, let's do this here. Let me ask you something. And I'm going to take something that I heard from the Baltimore camp yesterday or today. Do you think the Eagles are going to be more of a passing team this year or more of a running team? Or kind of where they were a year ago? Same kind of balance. If you were going to look at what this team is trying to get into being, Are we going to be expecting more passing yards this year than being balanced? Be careful how you answer this, because I'm going to tell you why. Okay? We're not changing the formula. Really, why would Baltimore? Because they want to keep the guy healthy. Okay? Let's rationalize this thing out. Baltimore wants to throw more. You know why? They're trying to keep that guy upright. In Baltimore's opinion, this is why they're loading up on offensive talent. In my opinion, I think they'd rather lose a game throwing the ball than losing the quarterback in a particular game running the ball. Does that make sense? Especially when you pay the guy $52 million a year, $51 million. They'd rather lose the game with him throwing a pick than losing him. Okay, does that make sense? So will the Eagles apply that to Jalen Hurts? Guy makes $50 million a year now. Would the Eagles rather lose a game, throwing the ball and more? So are we expecting more passing attempts this year? I think we will, especially with what the committee of running backs that you have and the limited action that many of those guys seemingly can't put on the field or on tape because they're always hurt. I think the Eagles are going to be more of a passing team this year. I'm not saying they're not going to get into being a balanced team, but I think that's going to lean. If it's me, I think that leans more towards passing. You know what, too? Think about this, everyone. Tone, everyone. Actually, it's a great way to save Jalen. 1, 2, 3, throw. Throws a pick. Lose a game. Dude, Brady's lost games. He's had pick six. The great quarterbacks. You're not paying that guy $50 million to get hurt. You're paying that guy because he does special things running the ball and passing the ball. And they're going to pick their spots, I think, more running the ball this year than they have in the past. And I think they're going to – I'm not saying that they're going to try to pull back on Jalen Hurts. That's not what I'm saying. Because the one thing I don't – boy, this – you know what? This goes back into the conversation here with Brian Johnson. You know, the coordinator that has the most pressure on him, Desai's got to come up with a scheme, right? Johnson's got to come up, along with Sirianni, a way of utilizing all the skills that Hurts has, but in the same light, protecting the quarterback to make sure he can play those 17 games. How do you do that? You throw the ball more. Okay? You throw the ball more. 32 total TDs last year for Hurts. I don't give a shit what that means. Great. So he's on pace to be Cam Newton. You want Jalen Hurts at the back end of your contract to look like Cam? Baltimore doesn't. I believe that's why they're going to throw the ball more. Jalen Hurts will never play 10 years, the current pace he's playing. He's not going to. Now, I think he's got the best chance, even including Josh Allen. I think he's got the better chance because he's smarter. He gets down, he gets it, he slides, sees the game. I think Hurts thinks that he's more deadly in open space like Rodgers is. But the one thing that you don't want to see Aaron Rodgers, you don't like to see Rodgers in a rollout. Why? Because he is a gifted scrambler. Aaron Rodgers is a gifted scrambler. He is. He's a gifted scrambler. Eagles supposedly interested in Julio Jones as wide receiver 4. Jameson, I would say this. Ankle issues the last 3 years. 12 games. Then again, you're not asking him for a bunch of catches. You're not looking for 100 catch seasons any longer out of him. You're looking at productivity. And one thing I'll tell you that Julio Jones still does that he's great at, he's great in the run game. He's absolutely great in the run game. Okay? You know, I said this before, Yale. Jalen is trending towards being something like a Russell Wilson, and I never thought he would ever trend that way. I never thought he'd trend there. Okay, but he is. D-Jack's over Julio in my book. D-Jack's a great player. Cam Newton won an MVP and went 15-1, lost the Super Bowl. Newton still better as of now. Yes, of course. Cam Newton, as of now, has had a superior career. And all the way up, if you want to go to the first couple of years in Cam Newton's career, Jalen's done nothing close to that. He was a better passer. He was more physical. He was intimidating. It was a tough play to play against him. His accuracy and his completion percentage wasn't very high, which always hurt him. But he was a phenomenal football player. Phenomenal. And put a lot of years together, too. I mean, if you look at the first couple of years that Cam was in the league compared to Jalen, not close. I mean, he was just a better football player. Just a better player. But Jalen's getting better, okay? I would say this to you right now. When you're looking at dual threat, when I'm not comparing the 11th year career, I'm comparing the first couple of years all the way up to where Jalen is right now. And Cam Newton, first couple of years in the league, he was really great. I would say this, Vic and Michael Vick and Cam, probably better. But those are great dual threat guys. It's no shade. Okay. Hey, look at Tone goes, he was the number 1 overall pick. Okay. Your boy's making $55 million. All right. Okay, so you're telling me he's overachieved. All right. Well, let me put it to you this way. Do you know how many Heisman Trophy winners have won the Most Valuable Player award that played quarterback in college and in the NFL? Can you name them? Can you name the Heisman Trophy MVPs of the NFL? Quarterbacks. Only quarterbacks. Can you name them? Can you name them? Name me a quarterback that won the Heisman Trophy that was an MVP winner in the NFL. Quarterback. Quarterback. Lamar Jackson. Hey, he totally has. So is Dak. So is Tony Romo. Undrafted. Here they are. Jim Plunkett never won an MVP award regular season, not Super Bowl MVP. Cam Newton, Lamar Jackson, and Roger Staubach are the only quarterbacks to win the Heisman and the MVP in the National Football League. There's only 3 that have ever done that. Not that easy. So Cam was a great ball player. Lamar won the Heisman. Lamar won the Heisman Trophy at Louisville. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, the 32nd pick in the draft, that was Ozzie Newsome's last pick. There's only 3 quarterbacks in NFL history that won the Heisman and then turned around and won the regular season MVP. Cam, Staubach, and Lamar. 3. That's it. Since 1936. That's a pretty big statement. Shows you how those quarterbacks, it's a quarterback. How can that trophy be a quarterback trophy when everyone sucks? Right? I mean, Staubach and Cam and Lamar are the 3 guys, right? Hurts' ceiling is unknown. Yeah, of course it is. He's only had 1 year. Of course. He's only had 1 year. Got to put them years together. How did Lamar fall to 30? Because they thought he couldn't throw the ball like Jalen. Do you know how much more Think about that. Dual threat quarterbacks can't throw the ball. That's what they thought. Yale. That's why he went. I think he was the last player taken in that respected draft that year by Baltimore. And shit, was that the Baker Mayfield year? Was that the Baker Mayfield? I think that was the Baker Mayfield year that he was the final. Get this, the top pick in the draft is now on his third team, and the last quarterback taken in that draft has a unanimous MVP award. Yeah, dual threat, man. They didn't think Lamar could throw the ball. Thought he'd have to play another position. Public opinion destroys athletes every day. Trey, sometimes. If you're smart, you look here. Trey, watch this. So here, last year, Trey, let me ask you a question, Trey. What was your opinion on Jalen Hurts last year on May 25th? Let's see if your revised history. Hey, what was your opinion on Tone? Put it in the box. What was your history on what did you think of Jalen Hurts on May 25th? What did you think of him a year ago on May 25th? I'll tell you what I thought of him. Uncertainty. Here, I think the Eagles thought the same thing I did. Not sure if he's the guy. Not sure if he's going to be accurate. He's not the most accurate guy. They got 2 first-round draft choices to go into this previous April draft. My opinion on Jalen Hurts this time last year was a guy who still has to prove to me he was the long-term answer. I think the Eagles had the same one. I think the Eagles had the same opinion. Yale goes, praying he would make the big step. You're damn right they were praying. That's why they got 2 picks in the first round for this past April draft. They were praying. They didn't even know. But you listen to certain people, oh, yeah, this guy here, I knew you. No, you didn't. He was never drafted in Philadelphia to be the starter, ever. He was never drafted for that. As a matter of fact, your history of quarterbacks, if you go back since 2000 and Howie's great selections and Joe Banner's, they sucked. You had Foles in there and Wentz. And then a bunch of whomevers. Okay? And a bunch of whomevers. I think you drafted 9 quarterbacks since 2000. You should see that shit list of quarterbacks the Eagles have drafted. Wasn't like you guys were nailing QBs, and you gave Wentz a ton of dough. Hey, by the way, are you ready for this one? Here's the new conversation. Carson Wentz to Green Bay. It's picking steam up. We're going to get to a new topic here. Won the Super Bowl with those 2. I got it. God, making sure. Yeah. Oh, hey, wait a minute. I'm not okay. I'm just saying. You had 9 quarterbacks, and they were almost all turds. It's okay. I get it. You have a lot of winning. Second best record since 2000. I get the whole thing, man. All right. I got a topic with Howie Roseman here. Indulge me here. Does Howie Roseman, you keep Eagle fans honest, Sills, and they'll do the same to us. Oh, you said CeeDee. Sills, here's Tone today. Sills, come on now. You said DeVonta's better than CeeDee. I did. Sills, don't go. You can't go back on. Wait. I'll put a post up on you. Don't let me put a post up on your ass. Sileo flops and says that CeeDee's better. Now you can't leave. Sills. Oh, my God. This is such a great comment from Tone. Hey, Sills. Okay, now you're in here a little bit. You still got a little ways to go because you'll still take a shit on Jalen every now. And you'll throw a stone at one of my favorite media guys and mispronunciate his name or have a hyphen in the wrong place. Be called the bad guy, whatever, So, but you're kind of in. Okay? You're kind of in. Just don't let me, now you can't leave. Sileo, now you can't leave. All right. I get it. Come on, man. DeVonta Smith Sports Scene. Search it on YouTube. Thank me later. Hey, he's a top 15 wide receiver with an opportunity to keep moving up into the top 10. And by the way, CeeDee Lamb is going to make $25 million being like the 15th best wide receiver in the league. It's no shame, dude. Okay? Jubba goes, Sills, where's the cowboy helmet? Well, it ain't nowhere near where we are. I can't have the bad juju. I can't have the bad juju. My screen went out. Something happened. It was really weird, man. I put the cowboy helmet where my buck helmet is, and I hung it there. And all of a sudden, man, my screen went shitty and everything started going sideways. And Xander's like, dog, you can't. And then Xander's never said anything. Tone, you'll love this. Xander's never said anything. He goes, Sills, you cannot hang that hat. He goes, you cannot have that helmet in the background. You cannot. And I'm like, yeah, but the Cowboys and even Steven signed it. He goes, dude, I don't give a shit if Jesus signed it. You can't have it. Oh, man. Okay. Here is the next topic. Does the general manager of the Eagles have to make one more move to make the Eagles the number one Super Bowl favorite? Do you think Howie Roseman has to make one more significant move to make the Eagles the favorite? By the way, they are a contender. But the favorites, in my opinion, Chiefs, Bengals. I'm not saying this is in order. I think the Eagles are second. But here's my small group of teams that I think could win the Super Bowl. Chiefs. I'm going to write this down because I don't want to lose my train of thought on this. Bengals, Bills. This is not in order. Eagles, 49ers, Cowboys. Would I add another AFC team? Bills, Bengals, Chiefs. Bengals, Bills, Eagles, 49ers, Cowboys, Chiefs. Anyone else? Chargers? Jets? Jags? Jags are good, man. I'm talking any team. I got how many teams? 3. I got 6 teams here. I think these are 6 legitimate teams that could potentially win the Super Bowl this year. Bengals, Bills, Eagles, 49ers, Cowboys, Chiefs. Anyone else? Jets and Jags? Man, there's so much newness to that Jets. The Jags have a good roster, man. Trevor Lawrence, though, really, in his third year, going to take that team to a Super Bowl? I'm talking about teams you would put in that bubbles. C.J. Mosley to the Eagles would make them the favorites. Miguel, I love that. You know I love that player. And how about this? We leave those 6 with Jags and maybe the Jets on the outside, okay? Of that group of 6, let me rank them. Chiefs, 1. Eagles, 2. Bengals, 3. 49ers, 4. Bills, 5. Cowboys, 6. So here would be my 6 favorites right now to go to Las Vegas for the Super Bowl. Chiefs, Eagles, Bengals, 49ers, Bills at 5, Cowboys at 6. Does Howie need to make a move to be the preeminent favorite for the Super Bowl? Super Bowl 59? Super Bowl 59. Yeah, you Eagle guys keep doing this. Fragile Purdy. Has it mattered who's played quarterback and saying, you guys keep talking like the quarterback position has stopped the 49ers. It hasn't. It stopped them from winning the Super Bowl. They get to the NFC Championship game 3 of the last 4 years. You need to cut that shit out about them. Hey, I give them a ton of shit because they're moaning and crying. But at the end of the day, dude, they get to the NFC title game. And in theory, the last 4 years, they've been more successful than the Eagles. So I'd be careful what I'm saying. I mean, they have been. You had a 4-win season in the last 4 years. They haven't. Okay? And choke. Okay. That's not the point. They still get to the title game with the shitty quarterback. Can you imagine if they figure it out? They'll win it. Expand that to the last 6 years. So do it. The 49ers, the last 4 years, though, have been more successful than the Eagles. Okay? I mean, and quite frankly, they've been to more NFC title games. I get it. It's Tone's comment about putting your name on the test. That's not the debate. But you make it sound like they flounder. They don't. Shit, they had 3 different quarterbacks and won 12 games in a row last year with 3 different guys. I mean, you make it sound like they're not winning. They are winning. Again, that's not where I'm at here, and that's not where I'm at. The comment I made, does Howie need to make another significant move? A trade? A find? What's more likely, you think, Howie? Dude, let's go his history too. And this is a really cool part of the history of Howie. Dude, he didn't find Gardner Johnson until 9 days to the start of the season. And that guy played Pro Bowl ball. I mean, he was a great football player last year. And they found that guy somewhere deep on the depth chart in New Orleans. Or I should say not deep on the depth chart, but deep in the payroll. I mean, he made nothing. Dude, that guy was like a nothing burger when it came to money a year ago. It was, to me, I think it was a better find than trading for Darius Slay. Slay's been a hell of a player for the Eagles, but you find a guy making $800,000, he's making $8 million now with incentives. That was some find. Seriously, that was some find. Because it was 9 days before the season. Howie went there and made a deal with Mickey Loomis, and Loomis sent him there. You're like, not only did he get I don't know how Mickey Loomis keeps answering that phone call from Howie. They must have a really great relationship. That's good to have. Because you know why? Mickey Loomis is a hell of a general manager. You know, he's been to Super Bowls too. He's won them. Remember, Mickey Loomis is the guy that made he said, let's sign Breeze. It was him, along with Sean Payton. Now, they had to because Dante Culpepper went to Miami, but there was a big thing whether or not to sign the guy because Dr. Andrews said that this guy may never throw the ball right ever again. And Loomis signed him. Mickey Loomis is a good general manager. And I love how Howie hangs around the right guys. Look at the moves he makes. Howie's not just going to sign a guy. Like who? Didn't they just sign a defensive tackle? Michael, thank you, brother. Didn't they just sign that defensive tackle from New Orleans? Okay, and put him on the team? Howie does need to make a move, and it has to be on defense. Has to be on defense. What position? Linebacker or safety? Yeah, Street. I think Street. Hey, Tony, I think Street's going to be an impact player. Linebacker. A position they don't value. Where are you going to get a linebacker where the general manager doesn't want? The general manager will never give up a third-round draft choice for anybody. So, to me, this is how I think it's going to play out. They'll maybe send a draft choice for a safety, free or strong. But they're going to wait and see what the cut wire looks like June 1 here in 2 weeks and see who gets whacked. And then they'll swoop in. I think that kid Mosley has a good chance of being cut. They'll probably try to restructure. Okay, but he's got a gigantic number. Hey, the kid in Tampa wants $20 million. Personally, if you put Devin White on the open market, would he get $20 million? I never thought Roquan Smith would get $20 million, and he did. And is Devin White as good as Roquan? I don't think he is. I think the two guys, the guy in San Francisco, Warner, and the guy in Baltimore, I think those are your two best interior defensive linebackers. And you heard Seth Joyner yesterday. Dude, you guys only have 4 linebackers on your team. I mean, right now, if you went to camp, you don't have a linebacking core. And that affects your special teams. Because what are your special teams majority made of on your kickoff team and your kickoff return? Linebackers, safeties, corners, running backs, tight ends, maybe. Like you have no special teams unit right now. You will get beat massively. And let me throw this at you here. Do you think the depth on this team is better than it was a year ago? I don't. Why? Because you're now calling guys up that were your depth to be your starters. Where's your depth? And if you don't have depth on your team, you don't have special teams now. Because they're taking them from those teams. So you're going to play your line. So what? Nakobe Dean's going to be on a kickoff team, kickoff return, and he's going to play 65 plays? That's not going to work. Okay? So for me, I'm going to wait for the cuts. I'm going to wait for the cuts for linebacker. I might make a trade for safety. Depending how Brown looks, who are the safeties right now going to camp? Give me the list of the safeties going to camp. Give me the list of the safeties. And what do you do with Maddox? Do you drop him over to strong safety? Do you play him over there? different skill set. I think you got to kind of try to get that guy on the field. Like, what do you do with him? Where's he playing the scheme? Terrell Edmonds, Sidney Brown, Reed Blankenship, everyone else is just a body. Edmonds knows the position. It's good to have a veteran there. He can help. And by the way, if I'm Sean Desai, I tell Sidney Brown, hey kid, let me help you out here. You are to follow Terrell Edmonds and Reed Blankenship everywhere. If he's got to go take a number 2, you go with him. If he gets a sandwich, you go with him. If he's working out, you work out with him. You do everything that guy does. And then in the film study, you watch what he's looking for and copy it. That'll help you at least get prepared on what to look for on film. Do you guys understand? There's a 2-part process in this. And you guys just think Sidney Brown's going to just drop in to a safety position and play it? You're out of your tree. That's a complex position. Just like some of you guys think that Kobe Dean is going to just all of a sudden parachute in. And because he's been on a chalkboard, you think he's going to know exactly how to set fronts, what he's looking for, disguises, quarterbacks, what they're reading, moving the stunt, sliding the defensive front. You think he knows all that? Absolutely not. Why? He knows about it because he read a book. That's like telling me I can read a doctor's manual or a PDR and I know what every medicine means and what it does for somebody because I gave him a pill. That doesn't necessarily mean you know how the operation goes. You got to experience this shit. And Yale goes, it helps. That's the first stage of this. That's why you have OTAs. OTAs is not about finding out who can play. OTAs is finding out, what do you think OTAs are for? Do you guys know what OTAs are? Okay, do you know what OTAs are for? OTAs and minicamps. You guys know what do you know what they're for? Do you have any clue? It's not to find out who could play because you're in helmets and shorts. Pre-snap assignments. Scheme is barely in right now. Probably true. Okay, probably true. Team by team, I was on 3 NFL teams. Pretty much the same when it comes to their mini and training camps and OTAs. Here's what I would say to you. This is what they do. They'll go like this. You'll come in your 8 o'clock meeting in the morning. And they'll go like this. And there'll be a book. This is what we're going over today. And you'll be in that first group meeting, your defensive meeting. Then you'll break it down and you'll go to your D-line meeting. And in that D-line meeting, they're going to go like this. Okay, today we're going to work on base G defense and we're going to work on 34, 52, 38. Also, we're going to be working on banjo cover 2. We're going to be working on the Tampa 2. We want to do a little version of the Tampa 2 coming out of a 34. And when they say all these things, you have to look at what they're going over on their hit sheet for the day. It'll go by period. And you not only have to know what they're doing, but you got to remember, you have to know what technique to play when they're going over 43, 34, 52, 46, cover 2, Tampa 2. You've got to know when they say Tampa 2 slide left, want you on the left hash mark, you got to know to be in a 3 or the 4 and the 5 technique. So what they'll do is they'll overload you on information. They overload you. And what they find out is the players that retain the most information, those are the ones that are going to be ahead of the game. Like, if you get a guy and he just goes through it and he knows exactly, and he knows how to read, that's why it's important to tie yourself to an Edmonds, to tie yourself to a guy like Slay, because you're watching what they're doing and how they're preparing and what they're looking at. And you can ask questions. What's the technique here when he's asking me to go to shell 2? What's that mean? Does he want me to get depth, or does he want me to stay on the hash? What's he looking for there? Those are all subtle things that a guy like Peyton Manning, if you don't know what the hell you're doing, he'll throw the ball right there. Touchdown, 75 yards. All of that, that's day one. Then what they'll do is, day 2, they'll give you a brand new script sheet on what they're doing. Then you have to know yesterday's and today's. And that's why you hear coaches going, he's behind a little bit, because he can't absorb the information and the intel. Hey, retaining the information. I can't tell you how many times myself or watching guys next to me, what technique is that? Is that a 3 or 2? Is that a 1? Snap. Blocked. That's why teams attack inexperience. Teams don't attack the guy who they think is the lesser talent. They attack guys on the defense who they think they don't know where they're lining up and what their responsibilities are. It's different in the NFL. If you go with the notion, well, I'm going to go after the lesser guy, you're going to get your ass handed to you. You go after the guy who you think has the less knowledge of the intel of the defense that's being asked. That's who you go after. And with all the holes that the Eagles have, you have no linebackers, brand new safety core. It's not that you don't have talent with Sidney Brown, who you drafted, the kid Ringo back there now. Dean, you guys are so – that's not the case. It's, do they know what's being asked of them? Well, you did this. I don't give a shit about Georgia. Bro, you could have 58 missteps, and you could have false steps all over the rear end when you're playing against Vanderbilt. When you have a misstep against the Washington Commanders, you get your ass driven into the ground. Everybody in that league's great. And I tell people this, and they don't really understand how close the talent is. There's probably 25 plays in a game that separates a 6-10 team, or now a 7-10 team, versus a team that's 10-7. There's about 25 plays a game that separates that. That's how close it is. In college, you kill people. Okay? And again, we'll find out. Well, no. That's why it's important to have all your young guys in your mini camp with your veteran guys. That's a cool thing that the Eagles have. Jalen's there. The new players are there. Shit, you see Lamar Jackson showing up a little late. Rodgers is a little nicked. That hurts, especially with a new quarterback, new faces, new terminology. Nathaniel Hackett is in the Jets. You want to know why the Jets? The Jets are a Broadway play right now. The Eagles are a football team. There's a difference. The Eagles are practicing culture, preparation, and knowledge of what's being asked. They're looking at the players right now who they believe is going to understand exactly what's being asked of them. The Eagles are going about their business as a football team because they're motivated after what they saw in that Super Bowl. Look at the Jets. Quarterback's nicked. He's a TV star. That's a Broadway play. Okay? It's a Broadway play. The great teams with the great quarterbacks, the Michael Jordans, the Tom Bradys of the world, they don't miss training camp. They don't miss OTAs. Why? The quicker I can get the younger players on the same page with me, the better we'll be. Not I'll be. That guy's looking in New York like it's about me. It's not. It's about the dude. You think Aaron Rodgers is a concern in New York? Boy, I don't think so. I think everyone around him is. I'm more concerned about, do you know when that guy looks you off. He's expecting you, because that safety is going to be coming across the middle of the field on protection because Rodgers has moved his head. He's coming back across the field because he's got that arm strength to do it. You can't be taking the backside playoff, son. Or Rodgers, if he's not there, Zach Wilson ain't completing that. That again, those are the little tiny things that you practice. Especially here, how about this? Especially when you're trying to be a champion. Those little tiny things right there. See, the Eagles have turned themselves into a little thing, big thing matter. Okay, little things matter because they turn into big things. And this is why sometimes when you look at some of the philosophies that they have on special teams, linebacker, safety, you question that because why wouldn't you question it because, Jesus, man, that's the heart of your defense. No wonder you don't spend a lot of money over there. No wonder you hire mercenaries. The Eagles hire mercenaries going all the way back to Chris Long and everyone else. Get this. I get the offense. Only one guy in the Super Bowl wasn't drafted, and that was A.J. Brown. Okay, great. Look at that defense, though. 75% of the defensive football players are not homegrown. They don't believe in defense that much anymore in Philly. That's why you get Jonathan Gannon D coordinators. When Jim Johnson and Buddy Ryan, Seth Joyner was a homegrown guy. Okay? Hugh Douglas was homegrown. Jeremiah Trotter, those guys were homegrown and developed. They don't develop those players anymore. These guys are on one-year contracts. They're not going to get re-signed because they don't give a shit about the linebacker position. And TJ, hey, you think replacing Kaiser White's going to be that easy? You ain't got a guy on the roster right now that can replace him. So, you guys keep telling me Kaiser White was an average player. Well, you don't have anyone on that football team right now that will do the things that he did last year. You don't have a player that can do that or that has shown can do it. You have no – Morrow's going to replace Kaiser White. That's a laugh. Dude, he was the Bears' garbage. Okay? TJ Edwards is the upgrade to him. They hired your guy, fired that guy, and you hired their trash. It's an analogy. No disrespect, but it's an analogy. They moved off him. You're making him sound like he's some great ball player. They wanted to upgrade. So you took the Bears downgrade, who were the 32nd worst defense against the run. Okay. How do you think that's an upgrade? I mean, you're making it sound like, who do you have that replace Kaiser right now? You ain't got a guy. Oh, N'Kobe. Okay. Like I said, I think he does have to make one more big move. But he can tackle. Yeah. You know what you call him, 5-star Morrow? A chaser. You know what a chaser is? Every one of his tackles and all them 100 tackles he made, he was running down the field. The Bears got blown off the ball, dude. Guy made 100 tackles on the 32nd worst defense in the league. You think he had a good year? And some would go like this. Well, so what about the talent around him? That's a factor. That's a factor. You take kicks off the team. You moved Quinn, who was running out of gas anyway, and you moved Smith. Okay, it's fair. Okay, you're right. Morrow's an upgrade to TJ Edwards. Power Hour, resetting. Still a ton to hit on. Hit the like button. Keep it here on the National Football